what is it that you can do for yourself to help yourself make your condition better, to make your movements better, to allow yourself to have a little bit better life? Well, let's look at what is and what is not. The what is are the direct effects of the disorder. Let's put them in a box over here on my left side, and on this side, the right side, we're going to make another box, and we're going to label that indirect effects. Direct effects over here, which means this stuff in this box, these things are caused directly by the disorder that you have up here in your brain. These effects, you can't really do anything about. Sometimes there are things that you can help modify with diet, medication, that kind of stuff, but most of them, for many people, there's nothing you can do. The changes that are happening up here in your brain, where that degeneration is going on, causes different things within your body to work differently. And for many people with the neurodegenerative disorders, that means problems with your speech, problems with your movements, problems with your eyes, and a lot of other things going on that just happen. Okay, this side over here, this box, the indirect effects. What are those? Well, this box of the indirect effects contains things that you do to make this box worse. These effects will always be there to some magnitude, but these effects don't need to be there. These effects are those things that you learn to do to try to help these effects be better. Or, for example, when you first have problems starting, most of us started to feel a little bit unsteady on our feet, a little bit clumsy. Big problem, because it's humiliating, it's embarrassing. You don't know why it's happening. You're trying to hide it from people because suddenly society, they see you and think the first thing, well, you've been drinking, you're on drugs, you're doing something you're not supposed to do. You're trying to hide all this. One, you just want to fit in. You don't want this to be happening. You're anxious. What the heck is going on? Well, what do you do when all those things start to happen? You're getting a little bit unsteady, maybe you're bumping into the wall, tipping a little bit, tripping a little bit. You're trying to hide that. Well, the first thing you do is you start to guard a little bit your posture. You start to try to be a little bit more cautious to help stabilize on your feet. And initially, that seems to help a little bit. You start to think you're getting away with it. Nobody's really noticing. And they notice anyway. They're just not really saying anything yet. As these direct effects continue to manifest, in our example, you start to become a little bit more clumsy. You start to guard more. You start to brace more. You start to expect it. You're thinking about it more. You're trying to hide it more. So this guarding becomes more guarding. And as this process goes on, when you can't hide this clumsiness anymore, even from yourself, then you break into this stiffening posture to try to control this out of control body that makes the instability worse. You don't know it at the time, and nobody could convince you at the time that that's actually what's happening, but it is. These indirect effects are bad habits, the maladaptive behaviors that make this box, the direct effect box, it makes you look worse than you actually are. It makes it look like the disorder has advanced more than it actually has. This indirect effect box growing bigger is assumed to be the direct effect box growing bigger. Therefore, there's nothing we can do about it because the disorder is causing it. So in other words, we don't have any help for you going through it. It's just do the best you can to get by and prepare for the worst. But I'm here to tell you that this indirect effects box over here, when you learn what is actually in there, what you're actually doing to make yourself worse, once you understand what it actually is and how to correct some of that, you can make this box a smaller box, which means your movements are improving, which means your foundation is improving, you're more stable. So you're not creating a lot of these mistakes, you're correcting a lot of those mistakes. Now, don't be misled. One, you're not changing anything over here in this direct effects box. You're only changing your behavior, your movements, and how you can avoid making some of the mistakes that you've been making to relieve a lot of the stiffness and the guarding and the fear, to understand what is and what is not for what you can control. And once you can identify your mistakes and also understand how to correct those mistakes, the mistakes you make won't be as big. They won't come as often. Because of that, your movements are going to be better. As your movements get better, guess what's happening? You're starting to become more natural in your posture and your movements. Everything starts to get better. Another part of that is you will always make mistakes because this direct effects box, this disorder in your head, that hasn't gone away. That's still there. You've just learned how to live with it better than what you were before by decreasing the size of these bad habits that you've been doing before. That's what you're going to be working on in this program. That's how you will help yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. Nobody else can reduce the size of this indirect effects box. Only you can do that. That's your responsibility. My responsibility, now that I have broken all this stuff down, is to share with you the information that's going to help you do the same thing that I have been able to do. A recap: I was diagnosed in 1997 when I was 45. About 5 years later, I was told by my treating neurologist that, Tom, you're getting so clumsy, you really need to start using a walker. And like so many of you, the first thought was, oh, hell no. No. I'm not going to start using a walker because, one, that shows that I'm getting worse and I'm not ready for that yet. And I don't want to look disabled. I don't want to play that part yet. I'm not ready for that. Well, that was in 2003 that I was told to start using a walker. And now, today is 2019. I do not and never have used a walker. I don't need a walker. I don't need a cane. I don't need a walking stick. Sometimes I use one like normal people do. And I still go out on a golf course about once or twice a week and play a round of golf. I have those abilities back. And many of you can gain many of your old abilities. You can do them again because your body still knows how to do them. You just have to get it back in working order to where it's able to do them. So let's move on. Let's deal with this box and see how we can reduce that so you can have better movements, better life, and be happier.